Becca, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about my favorite books that I read in 2018. Now these books are in no particular order. In this list I have 10 books that I picked as my favorite books in 2018. Most of the books on this list have a rating of 4 or 5 stars, since I really loved them. The first book that I wanted to talk about is Empower by Jessica Shirvington. This is the 5th and final book in a YA Paranormal Fantasy series. And it follows this girl named Violet Eden, who finds out that she's part angel, part human. Throughout the series, she's just learning more about her powers and becoming a stronger angel, becoming more confident and comfortable with who she is. And within this series, there's a love triangle. Violet Eden is between the attention of 2 guys. One guy is named Lincoln, and Lincoln is her best friend, but one that she's had a crush on for years. And he trains her to be physically fit and strong as a Grigori angel. And then there's this guy named Phoenix, who's sort of a bad angel, and the enemy to all Grigori angels in this world. There's a lot of back and forth in this love triangle, but in this final book, Violet finally chooses who to be with. There's a lot of action and a lot of plot twists, where Grigori angels are being killed or kidnapped and things like that. I just really loved this series, but Empower is definitely my favorite book in this series. The next favorite book that I wanted to talk about is Until You by Penelope Douglas. This year I read the Fall Away series by Penelope Douglas, and this is a new adult romance series. But this book is book 1.5 in that series, and the start of this series talks about the romance between Jared and Tate. Jared and Tate have always been childhood friends since they lived next door to one another. But when they started to become teenagers, Jared started to be mean towards Tate, and she had no idea why. She thinks it has something to do with the fact that he went away one summer to visit his dad, and after that, he was a completely different person. This follows the events of the first book in this series, Bully, but from Jared's point of view. And we also get to see certain things that we didn't get to see from the first book, including Jared's relationship with his brother. I gave Until You 5 out of 5 stars. It was a really amazing book, and I just loved Jared. I understood him more as a character. When I first read Bully in 2017, I wasn't sure how I felt about that book, since I had mixed feelings about Jared. But after choosing to continue reading the series in 2018, I absolutely fell in love with Jared and his relationship with Tate. The next book that I wanted to mention is After by Todd. I actually reread this book this year, and I ended up really loving this series overall. I think I read this book for the first time in 2016 or something, and I ended up giving this book 2 out of 5 stars, since I didn't really like the tumultuous roller coaster, her angsty ride that existed between Hardin and Tessa. But after giving this book a second chance, I actually continued reading the series. I'm glad I gave this book a second chance, since I ended up liking the series overall. I've talked about this series a lot on my channel. I ended up giving this first book 3 stars, but I ended up really liking the series later on, and I liked how the series developed overall. It definitely became one of my favorites, and it's definitely a series and relationship that will stick with me. The next book that I wanted to mention is Sweet Temptation by Wendy Higgins. This is the 4th and final book in her Sweet Evil series, and this is a YA Paranormal Fantasy series, although I would categorize this 4th book as new adult. This book basically is from Kaiden's point of view, which is the male love interest in this trilogy. This 4th book is actually more of a companion book to the main trilogy. The series follows the sons and daughters of fallen angels, and Kaiden falls in love with Anna Witt. Anna Witt has always been a good girl, but she's always had an inexplicable pull towards danger, especially when she meets Kaiden. Kaiden is your typical bad boy, but especially in the first book, he starts developing feelings for Anna. The story of the trilogy is basically entails Anna ridding the world of demons, so that the children of these angels and demons, called Nephilim, can make their own choice is about their lives without the demons controlling their lives. Like I said, this fourth book follows Kaiden's point of view throughout the whole trilogy. And I would say this book is new adult, since most of Kaiden's thoughts about Anna are naughtier and more sexier than the original YA trilogy. Overall, I really loved the romance throughout this trilogy, but I did enjoy this companion book a little bit more, since I loved being in Kaiden's head. The next favorite shouldn't come as a surprise, but that's Alphas Like Us by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, for sure. This book concludes Maximoff Hale's story and his relationship with his bodyguard Pharaoh Keen. But there is going to be a fourth book about their relationship later on in this series. I enjoyed all aspects of this book. Maximoff and Pharaoh go through a lot of changes in their relationship in this book, and their relationship moves to the next step. I just love everything about their relationship, and I can't get enough of this series. I'm really excited for the release of Tangled Like Us. It'll probably be out by the time you see this video, but I just love this series overall, and I definitely want it to continue. Next up, I wanted to mention Walking Disaster by Jamie McGuire. This book follows Abby and Travis's relationship, but this book is from Travis's point of view. I reread his book in 2018, but the main reason why I reread it is because I wanted to give myself the chance to read the Maddox Brothers series, which is the spin-off series. Each book in the spin-off series talks about a different Maddox brother and their relationship with someone. But I just loved being back in Travis's head. Travis is one of my ultimate book boyfriends. The next book I wanted to mention is Beautiful Oblivion by Jamie McGuire. This is the first book in the Maddox Brothers series, which is also a new adult romance series, by the way, and it follows the relationship between Trent Maddox and his relationship with a girl named Cammy. Trent is Travis's older brother, and he works as a tattoo artist. We met Camille, or Cammy, in the previous series, and she works as a bartender at a bar called The Red Door. I loved seeing just how naturally and organically the relationship developed between Trent and Cammy, but in this book, Cammy has conflicting feelings because she already has a boyfriend that's out of town or that's never around, but she also feels like she's developing new feelings for Trent, and she doesn't really know what to do about them. Trent knows that he already has a boyfriend that's out of town, but still, he can't seem to let her go, and he wants Cammy to choose to be in a relationship with him instead of his other guy that she barely even sees. I liked Trent as a character. He wasn't as hot-headed as Travis, but he definitely had more of a sense of humor than Travis does, which I appreciated. I liked him just as much as Travis, or maybe a little bit more. I really liked this book when I read it. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was definitely a good start to the Maddox Brothers series. Similarly, I also wanted to mention A Beautiful Funeral by Jamie McGuire. This is the 5th and final book in the Maddox Brothers series, and I think it's my favorite overall. I won't give too much away if you haven't read this final book yet. I just loved the finality to this book. It was just a great finale to the series overall. There are a few deaths in this book, but I won't tell you who, since it's obviously called A Beautiful Funeral. But I just loved the family feel of this book. Just the fact that family was at the center of this book overall. I really love the Maddox family, and I was sad to see the series over when I finally finished this final book in the series. The author did a great job in wrapping up this series, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It definitely has a different tone to it, or an extra element, compared to the other books in the series, but it was done well, and I enjoyed that extra story element to this book. The last favorite I wanted to mention is Spark by Brigid. This is the second book in a YA Paranormal Fantasy series. The series follows a family of brothers, and what makes these brothers special is that they can control a certain element. And this family is known as true elementals, which means they have more power than your average elementals. This particular book follows Gabriel, Gabriel is known as the arrogant brother and the brother who's often getting into trouble, as opposed to the rest of the people in his family. And this book follows his relationship with a girl named Lane. I talked about this book in my December wrap-up, so if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this book and this series overall, you could check out my December wrap-up in a card, or I'll link it down below. But I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. This book was my favorite in the series, definitely. Those are all of my favorite books that I read in 2018. What were your favorite books in 2018? I'd love to know. If you want to see more videos from me, I'll put some videos up on the screen in case you guys want to check those out. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one.